a little bit better off. They pick 28th, they pick 60th, and 91. So they have 3 picks in the top 100. Where are they going? Where are they looking, John?
Well, I mean, that as we said before, we started looking into how the draft's going to kind of flow, and it's kind of crazy that a lot of positions that they need. Some of their actual opponents in their league need the same thing, and there's a lot of people, like we said, is going to be very defensive minded. I want to say through the draft, and by the time they get to them, there's going to be a lot of these players that I could talk about that are probably going to be obviously off the table, right? So I think they're going to have a couple situations where they'll have a defensive, tackle or inside defensive tackle, and then possibly, the cornerbacks that they like could be gone by then. So I think with a couple guys they've lost at the safety position, I think if they could get a good safety to help James kind of roam. When James came in last year, I think they were in a situation last year in the defensive side where they lost Perryman and a couple linebackers. They played 7 pretty much cornerbacks and safeties on defense, right? So I think if they could actually, and we saw how great James was in this rookie year, that I think if they could let him float and roam, and then they can find a really good safety on the backside, and they can get that as their pick, knowing that the big defensive linemen have actually been already drafted, but you might be able to get the Wilkins kid or something from Clemson late. But I was just looking at it, and I'm just thinking maybe the safety position would be somebody that I think could be their first round pick. I don't know what.
O-line's important though too.
True.
You got to remember with an aging quarterback. So if we talked about what if there's some type of movement to get a Kyler Murray, or to trade for somehow get Drew Rosen, Josh Rosen, not Drew the 8th, and that could be a tremendous understudy for Phillip Rivers, who's earned the right.
It'd be great.
And I thought about that, right? But then I thought, well, are there going to be quality first round offensive linemen by that pick in 28? You know what I mean? I totally agree. That's the first way they could go. But the top guys, the 3 or 4 guys that are the top guys that are difference makers, I think they might be gone, but I think that's obviously, I agree, that's number 1 on your list, but I think those 4 guys might be gone, right? So I think if you have it as a one, you're right, offensive lineman, if these 4 guys are there, perfect. Then if I got somebody that can stuff the middle for the defensive lineman position, that's great. And then, maybe you get a guy like Thompson or somebody out of Alabama. They've even said a little bit about Marvell from
Marvell Tell. But again, they can wait on Marvell.
Right, exactly. So there you got, the second round picks, right? But I think that offensive lineman and that defensive lineman is the 1-2, but will their guys be there by 28 is what I
the draftee that they had at Western Kentucky, Forrest Lamson, one that was tremendous productivity, has an ACL. Unfortunately, they haven't had a consistent, really high-producing offensive lineman for a long time, since Nick Hardwick, the center, who's retired and gone up to their booth, their broadcast booth. And so, but it's tough. It's tough, that positioning. And do you trade up for a lineman?
Well, there you go. There's another, they need a cornerback too. They need a couple cornerbacks.
Yeah, I think they can wait. I think they can wait. I think they need they're better off getting a big ugly early, the 28th, or moving up to get somebody.
Because Gus Bradley's gonna, he has his type of safeties and corners that he likes. Kind of taller and have good span, weak span and stuff like that. But they've lost a couple guys due to one with free agency. They cut the other guy down in the safety position. They lost. Who was it? Jason Verrett went to the 49ers, and Jahil Day went. They cut him.
Yeah.
So they need to fill those spots. So again, Charlie, totally understand. I'm 100% behind you, but I think it's got to be a game changer on that offensive lineman, that it's a guy that's going to immediately make because that's what you got to do in your number 1, right? They have to make immediate,
you got to make an impact.
At their first year, like James, Williams was our one from Florida State 2 years ago, or was it Florida State, the wide receiver? He got hurt the first year, but he came back the second year. He had a pretty good year last year.
Yeah.
So
again, it's hard to predict who's going to go, but easier to predict what their needs are. But sometimes they go against what you might think.
So I'm thinking day one. I think you're right. I mean, how it twists around, but offensive linemen, safety, and defensive linemen, I think are going to be those. That 28 through 90 pick. Do they go off and get a young quarterback in that 6th round, or their 6th pick or something at 200, or that could possibly be educated by Phillip Rivers? I don't know. I think the next draft, right, is the quarterback draft, right? Next year is more quarterbacks. Yep. I'm to be honest with you, I'm not too impressed with anybody that's a quarterback this year. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them.
Yeah, there could be 4 quarterbacks that go on the first day and in the first round, and none of them feel like franchise guys to me.
Exactly. The kid Missouri can sling it, but he's made poor decisions. I've seen him. He threw a lot of picks, I think. Right.
Well, picks are something that's pretty consistent for a lot of rookies' development,
right.
And obviously Sam Darnold did throw a lot of interceptions at SC, but that's
he blames that on T. Martin.
I do.
That's a sore subject.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. But speaking